I've been wanting to take one last pass at the bottle, so I'm going to do that with a little bit of violet mix. It's mostly just kind of wetting the shape down, and then I'm going to come back in and add a little bit of stronger color. So this first part is sort of just like wetting it down with water because it's a light value. It's about the same value as I'm going over, so it's not going to get a whole lot darker, if any. I want to be careful. Trying to address over here and address over here is tricky, trying to juggle a lot of things here. So when you're trying to do this, go easy on yourself, and notice how I'm tilting it so that the color is flowing down towards the darker side of the bottle. Picked up some there, that's kind of weird. Anyways, I'm gonna get my smaller brush and mix up a little bit stronger mix of some creamier mix of some violet, and come in over here. Let's see, I'm gonna trying to make basically where the bottle turns under a little bit darker towards the very, very bottom. And I want to make it dark enough to distinguish it from what's next to it. I'm sort of imagining, and I think my original photo was like this, where there wasn't a shadow being cast, but there was a reflection sort of going on. Basically the back of the avocado creating kind of a curved reflection. I'm not going to worry too much about it, I just want it to get nice and dark. I may have to accept that I'm only really going to be able to manage this one shape because I can tell it's already drying. Let me see what happens. Ah, the old let me see. Good for me. It's just some indigo and quin burnt. So that's going to be sort of not drying like I want. There we go, that's some nicer darks. Woo! And that is not wet right there at all, is it? You can tell when it stops blending and that it's wet. Same thing that sort of happened over here. So I could panic, or I could rinse everything out of my brush and try to come at it from the dry side Sort of like we talked about when I laid a stripe down and then came in with a wet, clean brush to try to soften the edge. The tricky part about this technique is that depending on how clean your water is, it will create a clean wash, a clean gradation. Because I know that this part is dry and this part is wet, but I'm going to hope that I sort of have the water clean enough and wet enough. Did I say that? Clean enough and the paper, enough clear water and dampness going far enough so that no paint will actually make its way over there. Let me try it here too, since I'm into it. I could tell that was going to dry weird. And this is the point where I've said, well, if you want to come back in, you can, but you should probably address the whole shape. That would be, I could do that, but that would be something I don't feel like doing. No, that is takes you down a whole nother way, and if you want it really, really clean and graduated, I would do that. But for now, I'm going to soften that edge. I'm going to make sure that my water is nice and clear, and I'm going to just bring in enough to where any pigment that does feel like making its way to wherever there's any dampness, because that's what the paint wants to do. It won't go, that I have a big enough wet shape so that no color can get up to where it stops and leave a mark. And I'm trying to just sort of lighten up in general. It's a watercolor. If you bring too much water in, you'll sort of create a whole new issue. So it's a bit of a judgment call if you want to start going back in and re-wetting smaller shapes, softening edges, but not wetting down a whole shape, versus letting it dry however it's going to dry, and then coming back in and doing another layer. I lost my with bringing that water back in, I lost my the darkness over here. So once again, back and forth, looking at it sideways to see where it's damp enough, shiny enough to bring in color that's going to blend. Nice. I think I'm going to leave it like that. Except I'm going to do this. That's a great example of fussing and making a little mistake and then trying to clean it up or not. When you start having those little rogue brush strokes or just things going a little bit farther, you can try to clean it up and you'll make it clean it up a curve, but then you'll have another one and you'll clean it up again, and then you'll have another one and clean. Next thing you know, like the bottom of the bottle is way down here. But yeah, I put a tiny little sort of idea of a cast shadow coming from the bottle. I'm not sure if it actually would or not, but I just felt like doing that. And as I look at it, one of the last things I want to do, oh, I'm sure there's more things, but the underside of the cork part can be sort of just any kind of grayish. I'm just kind of mixing what I have here. And I'm going to basically just try to make it dark. It would be away from the sunlight. A little bit darker, and like everything else that's turning as a cylinder, getting a little bit darker as it gets to the left side of the bottle. I want it darker than that overall. I think this brush is really coming in quite handy, I will say. So now I'm not really sort of thinking color, I'm just thinking value. Yeah, value, dark. Gonna lift a little bit from that side that I want lighter. A little dance between who gets darker and who gets lighter. Avocado bottle.